Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good day. Okay, today we are covering on a content called file processing. All this while when we are doing coding, we are only storing data in array or array list where the data will be gone when we just terminate the program. So what we want to do is we want to save it in a file so that we can retrieve it back for any other processes. Right, so these are some of the concern when we are that make us want to use a file. The best, more efficient way of storing data is using database, but in this content, in this course, we are only covering it saving the data in the text file. Right, so when you store data in a file, you can actually access it. Okay, you can access it. You can use it again, or you can print it out after you have terminated your program. Right, so basically there are two types of files. One is a text file where it can be read by you. Okay, so you can see the numbers or the text inside it, and the data is stored in a string form. Another form of file is called a binary form. Okay, it represented in a binary form, so when you open it you can't read it. Okay, it's in a sequence of bytes, right? So it is why does this happen? Because the data is stored in a binary data, not in a string form, right? So this is a text file where you can read it. So this is a binary form. Okay, so it is stored in a byte form. Okay, so all these are in a byte form. Alright, file is regarded as a collection of bytes, right? So when you say you read from a file, the computer delivers some of those bytes to the program. So the computer will read from the file, read from this file, and goes to the program. For example, if you are writing JGraphs or NetBeans, you are trying to read from an existing file, so it will read whatever in the files and bring it to the JGraphs in order for you to process. If you want to write it, let's say you have done with you want to store the data that you just got it from the keyboard, so you do a write operation. So the computer accepts some bytes from the program, for example in our case the JGraphs, and save them in the file. So that's what's happening. Right, so these are some of the coding that you have to write in order to create a file and access a file. Okay, for example, because you are dealing with a file, so you need to add this code. So file, so this can be any name, new file, so this is the file name. So if you write it like this file will be in the current directory. Let's say when you are doing the coding, you run your JGraphs, it's in a certain folder, so this sample.txt will be in the folder that you are currently running, unless you want to specify the location, so you put it the full path name. Okay, so you be careful with the symbol here. It's actually this symbol, right? Not the other way around. So this is for a specific location. This one is in the current location. All right, other methods that you can use is exist. In file is the object name of the file. In exist, so exist meaning that the file associated to a real file correctly. So you are checking whether the file exists or not. And then you can check whether is it a file or a directory. Okay, so let's say you can also use file but to define a directory, to call a directory. So let's say you have a file, directory, it can be any other name, and then you put this. This is actually a directory, yeah, not a file. So and then you do directory dot list, okay, directory dot list. So it will call all the files in that directory. Let's say in this directory there are 20 files. So all these files will be assigned to an array of string, so it will be stored in this array, and then you can print it out to check what are the files in that directory. Other than that, there is a method called .length to get the length of the size of the file in bytes. Okay. Get name to get the name of the file. You can check whether can it be read or can it be written. Okay. I think you are used to this function when you are using Microsoft Word. When you are trying to look for a file, there is a pop-up window that will help you to look for a file, right? So that is also supported by using java.swing.jFileChooser. So you can add this. So when you have this, it will pop up for you a window that allows you to browse to look for a specific file. So you do use JFileChooser, and then chooser is shown is dot show open dialog. So sometimes if you do like this, you allow the user to choose from anywhere in your computer, any directory in the phone in your computer. But if you specify the directory, so we will open it at the directory that you want them to look from. Okay, so when you use JFileChooser, this window will pop up. Okay, so it depends on if you specify the directory, so it will be at the directory that you have specified. Okay, getting info from the file chooser. Okay, so let's say you have done this, and then you want to check whether jFileChooser.approve option. So you want to check whether uh, is it being open or is it being clicked. Okay, so you can use this function here to check the status, or you can get the selected file. Let's say you have selected a file, so you want to know the name of the file, or you want to know what is the directory that is being selected in the JFileChooser. Alright, so let's have a look. How do you actually read and write to file? Mentioned to you just now, there are two types of files. One is text file, one is a binary file. Okay, if you are using text file, this is the object that you need to create. If you want to write, you need to use file writer and print writer. This is for text. If you want to read from file, you need file reader wrapped in a buffered file reader, or you can use scanner, the same scanner object that you use to take input, but this one is for read from file. So this is the combination of objects that you need to use together when you read, and you write. So if you are dealing with a binary file where the data is stored in byte form. So for writing, you use file output stream. If for reading, you use file input stream. Okay, so that's the combination of objects that you need to use together. Okay, let's say you are writing to a text file, right? So you need to input java.io, and because you are dealing with files, so you need to use this exception that we used to learn before. Uh, there are two ways: either you use throws io at the method that is calling for the files, or you can use try catch. Okay, either one. Right, for example, I mentioned to you, if you want to write, you need to use two combination of objects, while one is file writer, the other one is print writer. The file writer you need to specify the file name here in the file writer, and then you have, for example, file writer tulis equal to new file writer, and this is the file name that you want to use, and then print writer, and the way that it is linked together, file writer and print writer. So print writer will take the object of file writer here. Okay, so this is how you write it. Right. So if you do text.write, it will write as a string. Okay. Um, and if you write print line, So like this, using print line, it will be stored as an integer, right? If you do text.write, everything will be in string form. Okay, whereby when you do print line, you put print line, it will be line by line and it will store according to the type. And then don't forget, after you have, so basically this part here is the writing process where you write it to the file. So once you have write it, you need to close it. After finish, every file must be closed to ensure that all data are completely sent to the file. Okay, so you want to close it so that all the data that you specify here is stored in the file. Okay, another example, still using file writer and print writer. So this one is showing to you how you can read multiple data, for example, by using for loop, right? So you, for example, you have a data that you want to store and then you do text. Text is an object of print writer. So you do text.print I. So this is basically printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So once you finish, you close it, right? So another example, still using, remember to put import IO to include throw IO exception or file exception, or you can either use try and catch, either one. Alright, you have this, and this is a different way of writing. You can either use file writer or print writer only, like the example before, or you can use it with file. So by you doing like this, you need to write more lines of code. Before this you write only 2, now you write 3. So basically here you can actually specify the name of the file straight away here, but if you want to use file object, you can add this another line. So output file here will be called here, right? Output file stream here will be used here in the print writer. Okay, so you want to, this is, you want to print line, so you put whatever data here, right? Same. So I just want to show the difference way that you can create objects for print file writer and print writer. Okay, you can also use a file together with a user defined class. Okay, for example, you have a class of student here. So a user defined class. There are variables here, and then there are constructor, okay, and all this, right? And how you can link them together. Okay, so in this example, using a Java import IO here, throw exception here again, and you use file writer, print writer. Okay, so this example are using file writer and print writer only. Right, and here it's basically showing to you taking data from the keyboard. So whereby that's why you use scanner here, right? So it get the name of the students, metric number, carry marks, and final exam marks. Okay, in here it make use of the user defined class, which is student. Okay, it creates an object of a student here, and then which is called UG student 1 and UG student 1 dot calculate marks. It will take the carry marks data and the final marks data here, and then it call the set marks method from the user defined class student. And then here is basically what happened. It's storing the data. Okay, text here is the print writer here. So when you do text.print, this part of code will print it the data in the file, which is studentinfo.text. So it will store data in this format. Student name, metric number, the second S ampersand, and the last one is S. Okay, this one here. So it will print this on top of the file name, and then it print line, and then it print UG student 1. So what will happen here is that the toString method for this student class will be called. So it will print the data that you have entered, and then you close it. Alright, so this is just showing to you how you can link file, writing data from to a file using a user-defined class. So you create object like normal. Alright, so before this we used to print it out to the output section, right? So this time around we save it to a file and don't forget to close it. So we close the file writer. Okay, so this part here, student name, metric name is set as a header because in this example you only enter data only for one student and you store it to the file. And this is the student info.text file. Okay, this is an example of reading from a text file. Alright, so just now we see writing to the text file. So in this example, so it uses a different combination of object. So this one is using file reader and buffer reader. Alright, you can also use this. This is using the file. So if you don't want to use file in file, so you can actually specify the file name straight away here. But this one is showing 3 lines of code doing trying to create objects for file reader and buffer reader. So this is how you define the objects, and then you use, okay, there are two string here, string 2. So you try to string is actually buffer reader is this one here. So it's reading a line, it's reading a line from the text field of sample3.text. Okay, so read a line as a string. So it read the first line and assign it to str. And then in here it do integer dot parse in string. So this is showing to you it is actually changing is changing the form of the string to an integer. Okay, and then it try to print it out and read the second line and then print it out and then do buffer reader dot readline. So this is if you want to do like this, you have to make sure that you know what are the content. So in our case here is sample3 text. The first item here is an integer. So when it first read it, it's in a string form. So it want to convert this string, which is actually the original value is actually a number. So it change it to a number, and then it print it out. Print line here is actually printed out at the output section, right? And then it reads the second line, which is hello world. So it's assigned to string 2, and then it print hello world at the output section, and then it reads the last line. Buffer reader dot readline, which is true, so it will print it out to the output section and it will print true. So and then it close the buffer reader. Okay, so in here this part here is to, so just now the code that you see is, if you know what is the text field, sorry, the text file, then you know how to code, but you don't want to make it very rigid. You want to make it more flexible. So what you do like this, while buffer reader dot reader. So this is basically will check whether does it reads each line as a string until end of the file. So it will keep on reading each line in the text field until it reach at the end of the line. So it keep on reading until it reach the last line of the text. So this is a more flexible option. So just now here, you are actually reading from the text and then you print it out at the output section. So this is what's happening. Alright, so other than using the combination of objects now, you can also use scanner. So this is the same scanner that you use for taking input from keyboard. So it's, I think this is a slightly simpler way of writing it, so that you call, this is the file where you define what are the file that you want to call, and then you use scanner. So inside here, normally you use system.in, right? So but this time around you put the file in here, in file. So and then if you want to read the integer, But again, you can only know what to call if you know the content. But if you don't, you need to be more flexible. Okay, so if you want to call you want to read the first item just now in the sample tree, it's an integer, so you call next in. All right, and then whatever process that you want to do, and then you close it. Okay. All right. When you are using scanner, there's a method called next line or hash next line. Okay, you can use this. For example, here the same code, but this time around, you will check. Okay, scanner.hash next line. Okay, you will check. It will keep on looping until it reaches at the end of the file text. Right? If scanner has next line, it will keep on reading. It read the next line, and then in this case, it will print it out. Okay, it will continue looping until it reaches the end of the line. Right? And okay, so using file, so you can either use throws exception, or you can use try and catch like this. Okay. Okay, and don't forget to close it. Right, this is also reading. Just now we see. Right, this one here. Cannot move back. Right, this is another way of checking whether it has reached the end of the file, which is to use hash next. Okay, it's another way of doing it. Right, so let's say this is our file name, student info. Okay, so you can either use straight away. Okay, this is new file reader, student info. All right, so you keep on reading, but in this time there are only 2 lines, so it will be looping twice. Okay, when it first reach this line, it will check read hash next. If there is more line coming, so it will read the line and then print the data, and then it will keep on looping for the next line. Right, so when it goes to the next line, there is no more data, so it will close. Right, so what we have seen just now is only the text doing operation read and write on the text file. So let's look at how you can deal with binary files. Right, in binary files, you must create one of the Java stream objects and attach it to a file. So because this is in a binary form, a stream is a sequence of data items, usually in 8 bits. So the data in the binary form is stored in bytes. Right? Java has 2 types of streams: an input stream and an output stream. Okay, input stream is used for reading. Okay, output stream is used for writing, for outgoing. Okay, file output stream and file input streams are 2 stream objects that facilitate file access. Okay, if you want to deal with reading and writing to file, you use these 2 objects. Okay, to read the data back correctly, you must know the order of data stored and their data types. Okay, that's the it's not that flexible. Because you need to know how the data is being arranged in the binary file, because you need to call the correct method to deal with certain data files, the different data types. Okay, for example, right, because this is a binary file, how do I know? Because sometimes that binary files, the format is stored as .dat. Okay, and this is file output. Okay, file output meaning that you want to write. So file output stream output equal to new output stream. So this is, you can actually write the name of the file straight away here. Okay, there's another way of doing it. Okay, for example, we have an array of byte containing this number, and then you want to write all this data to the binary file. So you do output.write. So it will write all the data in the array of byte array into the file, and then you close it. Okay. So this is a reading operation, right? So this is file input stream in stream equal new file input stream. We can put the file straight away here, but if you don't want, you can define like this, and then set up an array to read data in. Okay, so this one is setting back the array size. Okay, how do we know what are the size of array that you want to create? So it'll check the size is based on the length in file, the file dot length, so that will get the length, and then that will become the file size, and then you create an array of type byte equal new byte, and this is the size of the array, and then you do in stream dot read, and it put it in the byte array, read data in and display. So you will read from the file and put it in the byte array, and then here you are basically printing it out, and then you close it. So that's another way, that's a way of reading from the binary file. Okay, so this is the way that you declare the objects. Alright, so you declare the file first. What is the file name? And then you do file output stream. Okay, this is another way. The one that you used just now is only using file output stream. This is another extra object that you are using, which is called data output stream. Okay, the one that we seen just now is until this one, file and file output stream. This one is another additional object that you add in order to easily manipulate the data. So this one is file output stream. This is data output stream. Okay, data output stream will accept a file output stream object here. So what happened here? So this is our file. This is our output file is the file object stream. Output data stream is from the type of data output stream. So why we are using this? Because it allows us to use more operation. Okay, so that you know if you are having a different, because in binary files you can store the data according to the data type. If you want to write the data in the form of float, you use write float method. If you want to write an integer to the binary file, you use write integer. If you want to write a double value, you use write double. So that can only be allowed if you use data output stream. So this is a way of showing it. Okay, you have to declare it, set up all the variable, the all the combination of objects just now. You need to define it first. Okay, let's say this is our data stream. Okay, for example, this is the name of the object. If you want to store integer, you need to use write int. If you want to store long data, write long, and so on. Okay, so you can actually write and store the data according to the type. Alright, so this one is just now is the operation of writing to the binary file. This one is also using data input stream, but this is for reading process. Okay, so again there is an additional object that we are using, which is data input stream. Okay, well, when you use data input stream together in this combination, it allows you to read different kind of data from the binary files. Remember that binary files, when you store it, everything is in a byte form. So if you want to maintain the type of data, you you need to use additional object which is called data input stream. Okay, it allows you to read different kind of data, read float, read integer, read double, and so on. Okay, so if you want to do this, what you need to do, you need to know the combination of data that is being stored in your file, else you'll be calling the data not in the correct format. Okay, so this is showing to you, this is the data stream object. So if you want to read an integer, read long, float, and so on. Okay, and then you close it. Right, so there's a error here. It should be write in. This is auto read in. Okay, so this is showing to you the use of data input stream and data output stream. Okay, so because the data is stored in the binary form, so if you want to maintain the format, you need to use the read and write method suitable to the type. Okay, thank you for your attention. Hopefully this helps.